Hello, dear learners. This is Dr. Kaveri, Professor, Department of Political Science, Christo Jayanti College. Today, I'm going to explain you something about Socrates, a great Greek political philosopher, his contributions, his early life, and the legacy that he left behind. So, let me just quickly start with a brief introduction about Socrates. So Socrates was a great Greek philosopher, as I said that. He has also been portrayed and remembered as a quasi-saint for the religious or a religious figure. He has also been viewed by many as a founding figure of the Western philosophy. He studied music, gymnastic and grammar in his youth. These are common papers to study for every youth in the Greek. And then he followed his father's profession as a sculptor. He was an exceptional artist, and Socrates served with the distinction even in the army. He himself wrote nothing. However, we find the evidences of his life and activities much from the writings of Socrates' disciples, that is, we have Plato and Xenophon. So, however, we cannot come to the conclusion like what the data is given, how reliable it is, but still from the work of Plato and Xenophon, since those two were very close to Socrates, so we are getting the informations about Socrates only from the writings of like Plato's Apology we have, or Symposium that we have, which are quite close to the fact. So that we take as a base of giving an information about the Socrates. Let's see what was his early life. So we say that his family was basically a very moderate family, and thus required to launch Socrates and Socrates started his career as a hoplite, that is a foot soldier. As an infantryman, Socrates showed a great physical endurance and courage in rescuing the future Athenian leader during the Potidal in 432. He was also deployed in serving in a number of battles, like he participated in the Peloponnesian War. He also spent enough time in Athens to become known and beloved by the city of youth. He grew up during the golden age of Perseus. Athens served with a distinction as a soldier, but became the best known as a questioner of everything and everyone. His style of teaching, immortalized as Socratic method, involved not conveying knowledge but rather asking questions after clarifying questions until his students arrived at their own understanding. The youths of Athens were delighted in watching Socratic questions, their elders in the market, and so. So there's also one of the incident that we can find that once Socrates' close friend, that is famous Oracle, he happens to ask a question, do you find anybody more intelligent than the Socrates? So Oracle answered like none. So that means that there is nobody who is as intelligent as Socrates. So let's look into his teachings. So his teachings were interpreted. It seems very clear that Socratic main focus was on how to live a good and a virtuous life. The claim that attributed him by Plato an unexamined life is not worth living. By saying this, it was very clear that he inspired his followers to think for themselves instead of following the dictates of the society, and accepted the superstitions concerning the gods and how one could or should behave. Well, there were the differences of opinion between Plato and Xenophon, as I already mentioned you about the depiction of the Socrates. But both have a common understanding. Both present Socrates as a man who cared nothing for the class distinction or proper behavior, and who spoke up as easily as women, whether it is with women or servants or the slaves, or as with those of the higher classes. So Socrates angered many of the important men of the city who could rightly be accused him of breaking the law, of violating these customs. So In 399, he was indicated for failing to honor the Athenian god and for corrupting the young. Although some historians suggest that there may have been a political mechanizations behind the trial, he was condemned on the basis of thought and teaching, and Plato recounts him mounting a spirited defense of his virtue before the jury, but calmly accepting their verdict. His execution was delayed for 30 days due to a religious festival, during which the philosopher's distraught friends tried unsuccessfully to convince him to escape from Athens. Socrates and followers expanded the purpose of philosophy from trying to understand the outside world to trying to tease apart one's inner values. So, according to the work that is, we are getting the information from Plato and Xenophon, it is very clear that he was being accused of corrupting the youth of Athens, and then he was being sentenced to the death. And finally, Socrates chose not to flee but spent his final days in the company of his friends before drinking the execution cup of poisonous hemlock. So his death is one of the example where we keep telling that Socrates is a person who sacrificed his life for the sake of justice. So we can also find the reference in one of the book autobiography which was being written by Benjamin Franklin in 1791, where he said that he has quoted about the Socrates in a very simple single line which says that humility imitate Jesus and Socrates. So thank you so much. I hope the concept of Socrates is very clear to you. Thank you.